What's up, everybody? This is Spencer Slade, and you're listening to the Triple B and Double D Heavyweight Podcast. Because if you don't, I will lock you in the ankle lock, and you will fear the gear.
And we're going to unveil our new segment. I got to get music for this new segment we have. It's Triple B's Triple Threat segment. And the Triple Threat, meaning Bubba handpicks the hottest guys on the indie scene right now that are triple threats and have it all. All the factors that makes them a triple threat.
They look good. They look like wrestlers. They're charismatic.
Like
and they can work in a ring like professional wrestlers that you, as a little kid, idolized and have the it factor. That's what I'm doing. The it factor.
Right.
And this gentleman coming up
has
the it factor, and I've said this from day one.
So
I'm excited.
Without further ado, he's waiting, guys.
Awesome.
Without further ado, let's welcome to the program Spencer Slade.
What's up, Spence?
Guys, what's up, man? I appreciate you guys for having me on this interview. I love it. I can't wait.
First one, man. Hand-picked first one.
It's historic. Spence.
Man, I like those posters back there.
Honored to be on it. You know, I love talking wrestling. Want to get to know you guys and see, and most importantly, just shoot everything. You know, just tell it like it is. One thing I love about wrestling is it gives you the opportunity to express yourself and let everybody know what you're all about.
Well, and Spencer, welcome to the program. Let's get into before we get into the wrestling side of everything. Give us a little bit of background of yourself before wrestling.
Before wrestling, yeah. So I've always been an athlete my whole life. You know, athletics was always number one. Did well in school. Went to college, played football. Went to Duquesne. That's where I played college ball for a year there. Then I went and played down at Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was a D2 All-American. Did well down there. Had the opportunity to try out for the CFL. Unfortunately, didn't make it. But that was okay because I always knew I wanted to get into wrestling. So I played all the way up until I almost got to the professional level. And then, bam, it was wrestling, man. Wrestling's always been that first dream. So always been an athlete my whole life.
Yeah, so you were a very high-leveled football player. You almost made it to the CFL. So how was the transition from football to wrestling for you?
To be honest with you, wrestling is probably the most natural thing I've ever done because one thing about wrestling is when you're a fan, if you watch it your whole life, you kind of know what it's supposed to look like. You kind of know exactly ins and outs. So I would say wrestling has probably been the most natural thing I've done in my life. Football definitely is a great sport to play. I can tell you that because you're usually getting hit. You're used to running around. So I would say it was a pretty smooth transition.
Just for curiosity's sake, Spence, what position did you play?
I was an outside linebacker, so I was used to
nice.
I was used to sacking the quarterback. It feels the same way as winning a championship or just wrestling a match. I mean, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
That's awesome. Now, your journey into professional wrestling, was there any obstacles that you had to overcome?
Obstacles, I would have to say, and like I said, I'm a very honest person. Obstacles, I would have to say, is probably trying to, in wrestling, it's all about respect. I would say the obstacle is probably trying to get along with everybody in wrestling, just because I come from a just a little bit different mindset to wrestling. You know, a lot of guys here in the Indies, I can tell, they kind of look at wrestling more as like it maybe like a team in terms of talking to everybody or some kind of group. Whereas me, I look at wrestling as simply a business. You know, I didn't get into wrestling to make friends. I didn't get into wrestling to be liked. I mean, we can be friendly, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to get to the next level. So I look at wrestling as purely a business. That's probably the first obstacle that I probably had to overcome. Because when you come from football, you know, it's every man for themselves. You only care about yourself. Whereas wrestling, that's kind of a little bit different, especially behind the scenes. So that's it. That's
there's a lot of unwritten rules and things like that, and you have to learn coming up.
You don't want to make anybody mad.
You don't want to step on the wrong toes. Or, so your headgear that you wear in the ring, that's like pretty one of your signatures.
Absolutely.
What's the reason for the headgear?
That's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. So that's kind of where I got the whole fear of the gear mentality from. You see, so I obviously, since I'm deaf in both ears, I have to wear hearing aids for the rest of my life. So funny story. When I first took my first bump ever in a wrestling ring, my hearing aids popped out of my ears.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my gosh.
So, man, there's something that I gotta wear or do to prevent that. So I started wearing wrestlers headgear, and I think it's cool. There's not many guys in wrestling.
Right.
So that's that market value I call. You got to have something that differentiates you between everybody else, and I think the headgear right there.
We really haven't seen it since the Steiners, and then Kurt Angle did it for a minute or two to keep his wig on. But yeah, no, seriously, yeah, you're right.
Because you see a lot of guys, you know, a lot of guys look the same. You know, they wear the same headgear or they wear the same kind of ring gear. They wear long tights. They wear flashy kind of stuff, but. To me, it also, to the headgear, man, it gives off a realness vibe, you know, because I've done a little wrestling gear there. I like to say that I look like an athlete, so I think
you do definitely look like a professional wrestler.
I remember the first time I seen you come through the curtain. Actually, I was with, I came down to see Bubba get inducted for Imagine Wrestling there, and I'm like, oh damn, this guy looks like $1 million, and then I'm like, okay, let's see if he can work, and then you were able to work, and I was like, wow. Who is this guy?
That's crazy, because I think that was my debut match there. Imagine, because I know I've only been wrestling for a little over a year now.
A year?
That was one of the questions later on. That baffles me, Spence.
Yeah, so I made my. If you look at this poster right here, it's IWC Proving Ground 8. So I had my first match on May 25th, 2019. So a little over a year ago.
Wow.
I'd have never thought that.
Nope. So we were talking about obstacles. I didn't realize that you were deaf. Is that from birth or something that happened?
Yeah, correct. From birth,
has that caused any obstacles with you in the ring or anything besides the first match they fell out?
You got to communicate in there.
Yeah, I've been very, very good at trying to. See, this is kind of where my whole story gets into wrestling here, because I've taken the advantage of trying to be the absolute best that I can be in wrestling, just so I don't have to make this an issue.
Right.
So I'll do all kind of extra kind of training, you know, ring positioning, stuff like that, really get to know the opponent well, so I don't ever have to put myself in that situation to where my hearing becomes a concern.
And you don't use that, Spencer, because I've seen you in many matches and you don't. Like, nobody would know unless since you just told them, and people don't know that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I would rather have a wrestling match and I take my headgear off and people go, oh, well, crap, I didn't know Spencer wore hearing aids.
I didn't. I'll be honest with you.
You know what? That story alone makes you something that a lot of guys out there can't say they are. You're a role model and an inspiration to young kids out there. Yep. And I hope that that you see that and you use it.
Absolutely. You know, that's the most important thing you said, because once again, it goes back to my mindset of wrestling being a business. You know, I'm at the bottom of the independents, but I consider myself a brand, you know, Spencer Slade brand. You know, what do I want to be remembered as? You know, I want to be remembered as, that guy that inspired kids. I think a lot of guys in indies, they get into this mindset where it's all about trying to be the coolest guy or this or that. But you fail to realize, you know, if you're trying to get to the WWE, that's a business, man. That's all about branding, all about trying to please their corporate, you know, stockholders, shareholders. So you have to give something to the WWE or the other companies that they can make money off of. It's all about marketing.
Well, Spencer, I've seen you, be very humbled, and you are a role model to the young people, because I've seen the kids come up to you and flock to you, and you spent time talking to each and every one of them. You know what I mean? So I see that, and I've always seen that every time I've actually seen you wrestle live. So you have respect. You always been the utmost respectful to me. You always come up and you always say, "Hi, Bubba, how you doing?" You know, and that means a lot to an old guy like me. You know, but can you tell me what promotions you are currently working for, Spencer?
So currently working for right now is it's just Imagine right now in IWC in Pittsburgh. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm at this part in my career where, even though I've only been in wrestling for a year, you know, I have a future WWE tryout at some point, which we'll probably talk about later. So I'm not interested in wrestling. My whole mindset is quality matches over quantity of matches. Obviously, there's a couple other wrestling companies out there, But I would much rather wrestle against quality opponents versus wrestling somewhere every weekend that might not be quality of wrestling might not be to where
That's
I
a
would
good
like
mind.
it.
That's a good mindset to have.
They're two great promotions too. So
yeah, they're real good. They're the best in Pennsylvania. Now, actually, who actually trained you, and where did you start your training at?
Believe it or not, I was trained by Chris LaRusso at the IWC Wrestling
Good
Academy.
man.
Yeah.
And
I trained.
We know Chris pretty well.
Okay. Now, and you said less than a year. Less than a year into business.
Right.
Less than a year into business, and who was your first opponent, if you can remember, and how did that match go?
First opponent was his debut match. It happened to be a tag team match with myself and a kid named Zach Nystrom against Chris LaRusso and Jock Sampson. That was my first.
Oh, okay, Jock. Okay,
yeah.
That's a good tag team to go against right there. Those guys, I think, held titles. I believe.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it would be nice to debut in the main event, but at the end of the day, you got to get what you can get, especially for a debut match. So,
got to start somewhere.
That was my debut match right there.
Okay. Now let me ask you another question. What was your favorite match so far in your young, illustrious career? Because it's.
Oh my God! Favorite match happened to be this past last weekend against.
Oh, okay, good. Because I'm going to talk about that right now because that match to me, and I've seen a lot of wrestling, and I've watched a lot of wrestling, and me as a fan, because that's what I am now. That and a super duper podcaster and stuff like that. That match with big-time Bill Collier was the best match I saw since the APWF ran a show in Florida where we had Aaron Stevens and Roderick Strong in our wrestling ring, and that's no bullshit.
And Spence, don't choke me or anything, but I consider Bill Collier a really good friend of mine, and I'm sorry that I missed that match, but I really need to see the third one. So.
Absolutely, come on up.
We'll be there because I always had high praise for also Bill. Bill, if no offense, if I was going to own a company, you, Bill, Sammy Elias, like there'd be people that I would have on my company if I had it, and you are one of them.
So is he your favorite person to work with then this far?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't think of a better person. Like a big time Bill Collier. I mean, I cringed when he told me he was 40 years old. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, who would have thought?
He's a machine.
I've worked Bill numerous times. He's given me the best matches all three times I think I've worked him. To be honest with you.
Man, that's awesome. I'm sure after every match you felt you were better, you were more prepared.
Oh, he made me look good. He did. He can make anybody look good.
First time I ever seen him, he was running the ropes like the Taker, and I thought he was phenomenal then. But you and him, this third match coming is going to be epic. So what titles have you held, except I know you had the Imagine Wrestling title. Did you have any other titles, or was that your first title?
Unfortunately not. No, the Imagine Wrestling Championship was the first championship I won about 6 months after I made my debut.
That's still good. That's people been in the business for 20 years don't win a title.
It won't be your last.
It will not be your last.
It will not be your last, brother. It will not.
And going back to that match, like I told Bubba, one thing about me is I always go out of my way. It's I liken it to like if you see like a veteran out in public who has a hat on, you always go up and shake his hand and thank him for his service. Same thing with a wrestling vet. You always go up and thank him. You always go up and talk to them because you guys were there before us. It's just that mutual respect.
Well,
so when you say that was one of the best matches you've seen, Bob, I couldn't thank you more.
I'm telling you, I've been raving about it all week, and everything I've done from work to to my social media. You're on it. You know what I mean? Because I also see you on social media doing your training regimen. So what kind of training regimen do you do to keep in top physical shape? Because brother, you're in shape, man.
I seen pictures, just real quick. I seen pictures of you probably of like 2010. You were at a WWE event. And I think you look like me. And then, we're looking how many years later, and you look like $1 million. So what are you doing, man? You're doing something right.
This all goes back to everything that ties up in wrestling. Like I tell people all the time, I dedicate my life to wrestling. I sacrifice everything for wrestling. And I tell people this all the time. I do not have a life outside of this. I don't have any friends. I don't have a social life. I don't have a girlfriend right now. Everything in my life is about getting signed and getting to the next level.
Ooh, wow.
I dedicate everything to diet, to training, to watching film, to watching matches on YouTube, the network. I basically do what I think those guys down NXT are doing right now. So that's my mindset.
That is the best mindset to have.
So what would be a dream opponent of yours?
The dream opponent will be against this man right here.
Okay, well, okay, all right. Okay, so what about on the indies, though? Is there somebody on the indies that...
That's a good question. Let me think here. I mean, definitely, the big-time Bill Collier one was a dream one, but I would have to say I would love on the indies to wrestle like, for example, Brian Pillman Jr. That'd be a great one right there.
Yeah, that would be.
Ooh.
And let me just...
You hear that, promoters?
Yeah. let me just say this. If you ever get in the ring with Jimmy the Hippie, one of the most I don't know if you've worked him, but he is one of the most underrated wrestlers I've ever seen. His mind for wrestling is amazing. I traveled, not anymore, but I traveled with those guys, and I'm telling you what, his wrestling mind is a genius. So pick his brain, learn whatever you can off. If you can, get in the ring with him.
Absolutely. You know what? I talk to Jimmy the Hippie all the time. It's funny because him and Big Burl are always BSing in the locker room before the shows. It's funny, man. They've been through all kind of stuff together.
Yes,
I was just hearing funny stories.
Yep.
Here's a funny story. I don't think he's ever told you, but he actually, big time Bill Collier was late to a match, and him and Jimmy were a tag team. And Bill called Jimmy on the phone 5 minutes before they were going to go out, telling him his comeback while he was driving to the ring.
Well, Bill's never late for anything.
No,
so
he's usually early.
That surprises me.
Must have been a train in front of the tracks or something.
But that's funny. I could see that. I can completely see that.
Oh, my God.
So we're all getting our shit in. So I could say so. Todd went, Bubba went, and so I'm gonna ask like little fun questions maybe for you. Okay, so
I'm here to talk about anything and everything.
Okay. So let me ask you this: what was your first wrestling memory as a kid? How old were you? What was that first wrestling moment for you that it stuck and said, "Wow"?
It would have been WrestleMania 2003. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. It was Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar for the title right now, Seattle. Okay. That was the first match I've ever watched.
Wow. That's the one where Lesnar did the
Yep.
Yeah,
And this is where I'm going to talk about my issues with modern wrestling and kind of what my view of wrestling is, because I know it's all chocolate vanilla. We got different views of wrestling.
Yeah, we do.
So when I watched it as a kid, it was two men that looked like athletes that were professional badasses that had a wrestling match. It was believable.
Yep.
There was no goofy, silly stuff going on. You believed every single thing that was going on in that match. That's why it stuck to me.
Yeah. Okay, I can see
Every
that.
independent wrestler, if you're listening to the Triple B Double D Heavyweight Podcast, and if you didn't listen to what Spencer Slade said, you got to listen to this because it is the Bible. And that, I truly appreciate that.
I agree 1,000,000% with you, Spencer.
Absolutely. So, next question. Give me your top 5 favorite wrestlers.
It would be Kurt Angle, number 1, Randy Orton, number 2. I would put
that means you're taking Randy this weekend.
Man, I love Randy Orton, man. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Okay, so Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, and what was the last 3?
Bret Hart.
Bret Hart, okay.
I would put Mr. Perfect.
Okay, wow,
Ooh.
good.
And then Dolph Ziggler.
Really?
Dolph Ziggler.
How about that?
Wow. On Dolph, too.
Just a little thing. Bubba dropped him off at a strip club one time. He invited us to go in, but we had to work. But 2 other colleagues of ours went in with him. I don't know how they got home, but just a little something about
the stories of our lives.
We're always missing out. You know,
that's a good top 5. That is good. That's solid.
Yes, absolutely.
Why I put them as that is just, once again, when it comes time to wrestling, I've always liked wrestling as which guys are wrestlers, and those are the kind of guys that I just, because to me, and I think I've said it in social media, it goes back to treating wrestling like a business. I look at wrestling as a sport. There's some people out there, fans, indie guys, like I said, it's all different tastes. They may see wrestling as a choreographed stunt show or a circus show or a little show-off circus actor, silly, goofy stuff like that. Me, I take wrestling seriously. Guys like Harley Race. You know how pissed off those guys would be to see what wrestling has become today?
Oh, they bitch slap him into next week.
Exactly. Guys like that dedicated their life to making wrestling as real and as shoot as possible. That's my mindset. I like that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second, man. It was kind of funny how you mentioned Randy Orton as one of your top guys, because when Bubba introduced me to what is the legend of Spencer Slade, I said this guy looks
Yep.
a lot like Randy Orton, minus the headgear. And you're actually in a lot better. You're a little more ripped up than Randy, but I can tell that he's an influence of yours.
Yep.
By your look.
Kurt Angle as well. Kurt Angle. And then
this is kind of where it goes to my crazy life story with wrestling, with my hearing loss. So I idolized. So Kurt Angle was out of WWE by 2006. So by that point on, I obsessed with Randy Orton. He was my all-time favorite because Kurt Angle had left and went to like TNA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With Randy Orton, like I said, when I was a kid, I always got picked on by, because always got bullied because the hearing loss. So because I got picked on as a kid, sports was my escape. Sports is what kind of made me get people to take me seriously. And this is where this story gets real crazy. You guys remember when Randy Orton was his real 2009 when he feuded with the McMahon family when he was the biggest heel in wrestling?
Yep.
Well, that kind of mindset of like, I don't care what people think of me, just being a heel. I kind of took that in sports and had that no pity mindset of I don't care who you are. I'm dedicating my life to being the best athlete that I can be. I'm going to use sports as my way of getting people to take me seriously. So that's why wrestling means so much to me because, it gave me everything I needed to be the best person, player, student, anything that I could be.
Okay. Nice.
Crazy story, man.
Wow.
So
this is a great story.
This is a great interview.
So you mentioned about WrestleMania 19 with Kurt Angle and Lesnar. So is that considered your favorite match of all time, or do you have give me your favorite match of all time that's not your own? Is it that one, or is there another one?
Favorite match of all time? I just watched it last night. I'm gonna have to do WrestleMania 20, Eddie versus Kurt Angle.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
I can agree with you there. That's probably one of my top ones too.
The real wrestling clinic that they put on, that's just God bless Eddie Guerrero. That was my favorite match right there.
Okay.
I have to say. Yeah.
Nice. Good pick. So what do you say your ultimate goal is in wrestling? I think you kind of alluded to this, but
ultimate.
Yes.
I have my ultimate goal. I have my short, and I have I would say.
Give me your 5-year plan.
5-year plan would be to get signed to NXT. I would like to become the NXT champion within 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
And then after that would be obviously the main event WrestleMania, be the WWE champion, be the face of the company, and represent the WWE the same way John Cena did, trying to inspire young kids. Because this is kind of where this is like the WWE. I don't think they've ever had a deaf wrestler or a wrestler with some kind of disability. And I'm not trying to get people to feel bad for me, but I thought to myself, man, that would be a damn good way.
But you don't use that.
No,
your
not your
athletic
crutch.
ability.
And you can't tell.
No.
You cannot tell that
Don't
Right.
Don't hide it.
That would be
Embrace it. Yeah, don't hide it. Embrace it, because like I said, like Todd alluded earlier, you're a complete role model. Absolutely. So let me ask you this: what makes Spencer Slade so different and special that he's going to achieve that goal in 5 years?
I would have to
Tell
say,
me.
I would have to say the fact that the other thing. So I would say the fact that just how much wrestling means to me, and the reason why I say that is because that right there dictates how much I dedicate to my life to wrestling, how much I sacrifice for wrestling. I would say my unmatched work ethic and drive to be the absolute best is probably what's going to get me to that goal. Because I want to be able to make young kids feel the WWE the same way those guys made me feel when I watched it 8 to 9, 10 years old. That's the ultimate goal.
Nice. Okay. Good.
You dedicate the rest of your natural life towards chasing that childhood dream.
Okay.
That's the answer right there.
But WWE is your end game. That's where you want to be.
WWE is the end game. I've been a WWE kid since I was born.
Can I ask you something? What do you feel about AEW?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm glad we talked about this. AEW.
Just be honest. It's all good.
It's there's some guys there in AEW that I like. It's great there's an alternative to wrestling. I just feel, in my opinion, that NXT is just more. It's more believable, or it's more. There's more like wrestling, kind of my style, my taste of wrestling in NXT. The problem with AEW is I feel like it's almost like this billionaire. He's got all this money in the world. He doesn't care if there's goofy stuff. He doesn't care if there's mess ups. He's just got all this money in the world to where he can run AEW exactly how he wants it. And that's perfectly fine. You know, if you're getting paid that kind of money to do stuff, then good for you. But there's some guys that are just not believable. That should never be in a wrestling ring. Like, I'm not a fan of Marco's stunt.
Okay.
Not too many people are.
I understand.
See, I'm right with you, Spencer. I feel the same way that these guys keep trying to sell me on it, and I'm just not. I'm a WWE guy just like you.
But if you went to All Elite and All Elite contacted you, would you go maybe a year from now? Maybe. Because they do need bigger guys. I believe they do need bigger guys that can wrestle, and your technique and your mat ability would be something in that federation.
I would say absolutely yes. Like I said, whatever opportunity comes where we can earn a full-time level of wrestling, first I'd take it in a heartbeat.
Okay, so let me ask you this real quick. I like doing these would you rathers, okay? That's what I call them. Would you rather go to WWE and never win a title, never headline a WrestleMania, or would you rather go to AEW and do all of those things?
That's a damn good question. I would have to say to go to AEW and win titles and main event their shows, just because, you know, from there, you know, it's up to you as to how far you want to take it to AEW. Who knows how big AEW could get in 5 years from now? And who knows if they could be bankrupt and be out of business in 5 years from now? You don't know that.
That could be too.
Right.
Yeah. That could be too. So you would say AEW?
I would, because I would want to be in a position that I know where I should rightfully be in.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I look.
So you want to be valued as a performer?
Business, man. Just make as much money as you can and have the best matches.
I get it, man. I understand.
We're getting to the wrap up part of the interview. I got a pretty good question for you. What's next for Spencer Slade?
What's next for Spencer Slade? So what's next for me would be to get my championship back from Big Town Bill Collier on September. Is it the 19th? I think it is.
I believe it is. I believe it is.
Yeah, as you guys know, man, I don't think you're gonna find any other indie matches around here that's gonna.
There is no indie match compared to this. This is the trifecta. This is the trifecta, brother. This is the biggest indie heavyweight title match in a long time.
It's two guys that, you know, dedicate their life to the sport of wrestling, that look like athletes, that are going there and having a wrestling match. You know, if you're not somebody that likes it, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to watch it. You know, if you want to go watch your silly flippy match that involves guys that look like fans that have no physique, that's okay. That's your taste of wrestling. But when Big Bill and I get in there, it's real. We're going at it.
Okay.
So
do you have any words for, say, Mr. Collier's listening? Do you have any words for him right now?
First of all, I have to say, Big Bill, I respect the hell out of you, man. Everything you've ever done in wrestling, I just want you to know it doesn't go unnoticed. As much as I respect you as a competitor, I just know that, you know, that's not going to stop me from taking that title from you on Saturday, September 19th.
Ooh. I want to say before we wrap this up, your dad always comes up to me, and you and your dad listen to our show, and we here at the Triple B Double D Heavyweight Podcast truly love you guys for listening to the show. I truly love your mat work, and that's why when you wanted to come on the show, making this historic first segment ever, off the charts. I believe you're going to be very successful in this business due to your good mentality. You're humble, and you're actually very, very respectful, and you take the spoon and eat the cereal of wrestling knowledge. And I love that, and that's what I love about you, Spence. You only a little over a year, but you're doing so much, and I seen the little kids flock to you like a messiah. And I just want to say thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
And
sky's the limit, man.
Best of luck to you in your career.
Sky's the limit.
So a couple more things before we let you go. How can people find you? Social media or YouTube or whatever?
Absolutely. You can find me on Facebook at Spencer Chisholm. You can find me on Twitter at Slade Wrestler, and you can find me on Instagram at Slade Wrestling. And I try to post something at least once or twice a week. I'm big on motivational quotes or stuff like that. I don't believe in posting stuff to try to promote, try to brag about yourself. I'm a big believer in posting something with a quote that that could help somebody's day, because you don't know. There's somebody on Instagram that could be going through a bad day, and they read some quote, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? That's all I need to think to get my day better." That's kind of how I look at it.
Spencer, you're a breath of fresh air, brother.
September 19th, the rematch for the Imagine Heavyweight title. And if people don't get tickets, I'll tell you what, people, if you're not a true wrestling fan to see this main event, I guarantee you can hang out with me because I guarantee it, I will be there.
And when you're main event in WrestleMania, don't forget about us little people. We'll put you on a podcast, okay?
That's one thing about me is I never ever forget the people that have supported me. So that's my whole goal is when I make it big is to be able to fly people down to shows or support them any way that I can, because I'm big on loyalty.
Awesome, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank
Keep doing
you.
what you're doing.
Good luck.
Guys,
Good luck the 19th.
All right, brother. Spencer.
Hey, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you.
Spencer Slade, everybody.
Wow.
How awesome was that?
That was awesome. The questions were great. He is great. He is that
He's
real.
classy guy.
He has
guy.
so much respect for the business. He doesn't have a girlfriend. He doesn't have any friends.
His
It's all
focus
professional
is in
wrestling.
the right place right now.
Yes.
Yeah. That guy could have any girl he wanted.
Yes, he could. And
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, he doesn't even have to talk to him. Just fear the gear.